Joe Biden's performance in the US presidential debate left many wondering if he was fit for the job that he's planning to take on, both of the President of United States of America that he wants to be, and also of taking on Trump, Donald Trump, his challenger. So after this, now a new update that's coming in is that CNN poll suggests that Kamala Harris is probably a better choice. Now this sort of a sudden update coming in with Kamala Harris's name being thrown in, and this is, by the way, my colleague Arnav, and we were discussing this, Arnav, in our last chat, that who could be a possible alternative. At that point of time, you guys had told me Kamala Harris cannot be, but isn't it surprising?
See, my reluctance to take Harris in this regard, or not reluctance, but why I personally didn't see her as a viable alternative, was even if she is the vice president, even if people naturally consider her to be a successor to Biden, she just hasn't had any kind of she hasn't had enough of legislative experience. She hasn't had the foreign policy experience. And we've read reports over the years that Harris's team has been frustrated with the fact that Biden just doesn't give her enough opportunities so that she builds up her own portfolio. Now, I'm not quite sure what this opinion poll is even based on. Like, why exactly are they giving the edge to Harris? Because from my understanding,
I think just a position.
From my understanding, she has no natural. She doesn't have any advantage essentially when it comes to this. So vice presidents can automatically take over if a president within their term he resigns or is incapacitated. But when it comes to being a nominee for a party ahead of an election, they have they don't have any advantage.
Yeah, exactly. The president, one who is running for the president, chooses his running mate.
Right. So if Biden steps down, hypothetically, if he steps down and say Harris decides to enter the race, she'll have to compete with absolutely any other Democrat who decides to do it at the convention. They have the convention coming up. They all have to win enough delegates. It's a natural process. Harris has no advantage in that.
Unless Biden decides to endorse her.
Exactly. That is the way it can be done. If all of the senior party members decide, okay, fine, we're all going with Harris, we're not looking at anyone else, we're not looking at XYZ choices that we have, we're not going to do polling of all of our various constituents and find out what the Democratic voters feel. If they do that, and if they are intent on forcing through Harris, they can absolutely do that. And in some quarters, she might have an advantage, okay? The Indian American vote.
Ethnicity.
It's all there. It's all there. They're a very influential group
Indian
in the
American,
US.
Blacks, also African American.
Right, yeah,
votes.
exactly.
But you know, probably that is the reason why a lot of people and experts are saying that it would be difficult for them to sidestep Harris because of her being a woman and of a certain ethnicity. But this is how it works in politics. Optics do matter in politics.
And speaking of optics, I was just thinking about it. If they decide to do this last minute switch, what do the voters think about this? Do they feel cheated? Do they feel embarrassed? Do they feel like the Democrats don't have it together and there's literally no point to this?
That could happen because I was actually reading up a little bit about it. That is it possible that if Biden could excuse himself, although the more you read about it, you realize that Biden probably will not, because his campaign is very strong about it. His campaign office is constantly saying so. The White House spokesperson is very clear about it, that he just had a bad night.
Yeah.
The bad night narrative is very interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be saying that. Jill Biden and Hunter Biden seem to be extremely supportive of the fact that Biden should run.
Of course. We've even seen reports that apparently Jill Biden has been one of the first people who is always front of the line when it comes to sheltering Biden.
Yes. She's always there holding his hand.
Right. So
when they're walking together.
Any awkward moment that could be seen, anything that happens, she's there, always there.
She's guiding him constantly in front of the camera.
So I mean, there's already that perception that she's mollycoddling him, and so
I would say guiding mollycoddling.
See, I mean, that's what they're saying. I'm not saying this from my own side. The narrative is unkind. This is what it is.
But assuming this is just like a very big assumption. Assuming that he decides that he does not want to run, will Harris be who's already on the second on the ticket? Will she be the first on the ticket? That is the question everybody's asking. And as you rightly said, that we don't really know who was polled and who has this opinion that she should be fighting that. Was it random people? Was it random voters? Was it because, of course, the Democrats themselves, they might have a totally different opinion about it, because I also feel as a vice president, although you do not get too much of an opportunity to outshine the president, but she's not really been able to distinguish herself as such, except for issues of abortion. I recently saw some of her speeches where she's been fairly effective in making the point. But then that, again, that's the gender also playing the role.
Yeah.
So sadly, I don't want to bring in the gender, but gender and ethnicity might be the big trump cards that she holds for this nomination. That's what I feel.
In any event, I would say that this discussion, regardless of what direction it ends up going, it's not looking great for the Democrats.
It's looking great for the Indians, though. I think most of the Indians will be
Sure,
very happy.
sure.
We're always like, we try to own her. We always say that she's Indian. But let's be frank. She's not really Indian origin. She's half black and half Indian.
Right.
So father is Jamaican origin and mother is of course from Tamil Nadu. So and she's not really always owned that ethnicity that much as she's owned her black roots.
Of course.
So we might get excited about it that, we'll finally have, after Rishi Sunak, we're going to, and we're going to have another head of state. I don't think so that's happening, and I don't think Arnav also thinks that's happening.
If it does, great, but again, just the way things are going, this is not looking good.
It's not looking good for the Democrats for sure, because with a poll like this coming out, and if people start reacting to this, which they will, because they'll be asked the question. Most of the Democrat leaders might not want to talk about it, but they're being asked the question, so they will react to it, and then it'll just reflect badly on Biden. I think it's just a bigger and bigger hole being dug.
And whatever candidate emerges from this, they'll have so little time to convince the American voters. Biden's been campaigning for a little while. He's been giving his speeches everywhere, even if Harris presumably comes
But
forward.
Harris does have the recognizability.
Sure.
More than any other people we've talked about, Newsom or anyone else.
I mean, when it comes to a lot of these Democratic leaders who could have also been alternatives to Biden, they all have very strong local state following, okay?
But
I don't know, Harris might have it in California. She was from California when she was a legislator. So she might have some support there. But is it enough to...
Not support. I'm saying recognize. She will be recognized by everyone. Everyone knows her. So, like having a familiarity about the candidate that you're going to vote for. Like I know everything. She's been vetted. She has fought the elections before. There's nothing that will suddenly pop up from her back, from her history, from her cupboard. No skeletons will fall out. So she is sort of like a safe choice.
Safe choice, right.
So let's go by that. Let's wind up here.
Sure.
She might be a safe choice. It might be very difficult to sidestep her because of her ethnicity and gender. So there might be some things that might be, working for Harris. But we are still of the opinion that it's a very, 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 very far cry that this might happen, because Biden seems to be already in gung-ho about the race. Do subscribe to India Today for more news updates, and we are keeping a watch on the US elections as well.